Hello, and good evening to everyone joining us for this very special virtual edition of the SUNY Maritime College Admiral's Dinner. I am Mike Alfoltis, President of SUNY Maritime College, and your MC for the evening. On behalf of the SUNY Maritime Foundation Board, the Admiral's Dinner Committee, the college administration, faculty, staff, and most importantly, our 1,600 students, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight for this special event. I'm joining you from the Pentagon, in front of the Sally Port, through which generations of alumni have proudly passed, starting at Indoc, continuing with their classes here at the fort, and ending at graduation. Fort Schuyler, with history that predates the Civil War, looks as beautiful as ever, and we are proud to boast this historical part of the campus that makes SUNY Maritime a college like no other. There is no doubt that the last 6 months have been extremely challenging. For some, it's been more challenging than for others. And I sincerely hope that each of you and your loved ones have been able to weather the storm and remain safe and healthy. While we have certainly experienced our challenges during the pandemic, I'm pleased that SUNY Maritime College continues to excel at its mission of educating and training the next generation of dynamic maritime leaders. Kim and I wish we could visit with each of you personally, as we usually do at the dinner. But I look forward to spending this evening together with you as we take you through a virtual tour of our campus. Throughout the evening, we'll highlight the need for scholarship support for our students, and we'll thank our generous sponsors and donors. The need has never been greater, and there's truly been no greater time to give. This evening is also a very special celebration of an important milestone for the United States maritime community, 100 years of the Jones Act. And tonight we recognize 4 outstanding honorees, men and women who are leaders and protectors of the American Merchant Marine and the maritime industry at large. Before we begin though, and in keeping with true maritime college tradition, I'd like to ask everyone to please stand for the presentation of colors and the singing of the national anthem by Cadet Andrew Danko, class of 2022. Cadet Danko comes from a maritime family. His proud parents are Kevin Danko, class of 1995, a member of the Alumni Association Board, and Jennifer Razulis, class of 1996. At this time, I invite the SUNY Maritime Color Guard to march on the colors.
Color Guard, attention! Carry! Colors! Ready? Cut! Reason! Colors!
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order! Colors! Ready? Cut!
Thank you to our student color guard and to Cadet Danko. That was terrific. We begin tonight's program here at the Quad, in front of Vandercloot Hall, where our students begin their day. For many years, we held the Admiral's dinner on the mess deck or here on the Quad. Regardless of where it has been held, the Admiral's dinner brings alumni and industry together for a common purpose: to recognize outstanding honorees and to raise funds to support our very deserving students. Tonight, we are especially proud to be recognizing our 4 very accomplished honorees: Jennifer Carpenter, President and CEO of American Waterways Operators; Lindsay Price, SUNY Maritime, class of 2007 and Senior Master at G&H Towing; Mike Roberts, President of American Maritime Partnership and Senior Vice President at Crowley Maritime; and Mark Ruge, Partner at K&L Gates Law Firm. Each of these outstanding individuals is extremely dedicated to the U.S. maritime industry, the U.S. mariners working on U.S. flagged ships and vessels, and the Jones Act itself. We are thrilled to be honoring each of them, and a little later in the program, we'll highlight each honoree individually. In spite of the hurdles we have faced with the COVID pandemic, I am proud that Maritime College is off to another outstanding year. By every measure, we are continuing to attract the best and the brightest students who excel in the classroom, on the athletic field, in the regiment, and in our intern programs. They support each other, just as you did when you were in their shoes. Soon, they'll be working alongside you on the water, at shoreside jobs, as engineers, entrepreneurs, business leaders, all the way up to the top, the C-suite. While so much has changed this year, two things have remained constant: the need to raise funds for student scholarships and the strong support we receive from our dinner sponsors. We could not be doing what we do without your great support and generosity, which helps ensure that our next generation of industry professionals and leaders have a top quality education. And recognizing our friends and partners who maintain their support through these difficult times, as well as our new sponsors, I'd like to mention that all the funds raised tonight go directly into the Admiral's Dinner Scholarship Fund and are awarded as 4-year scholarships to attract outstanding students to Maritime College. These funds also help relieve the serious financial hardship so many families are facing today. So thank you again to our outstanding sponsors. So let's get started in making a difference. Tonight we celebrate the next 100 years of the Jones Act, and I'm here standing proudly in front of our traineeship, the Empire State 6. The traineeship and summer sea term provide a transformative experience for our licensed students. And I've heard endless stories from alumni about the bonds formed during summer sea term. We also know that the valuable education and training our students receive on the ship prepares them for serving as the next generation of U.S. merchant mariners. Thanks to the bold and visionary actions of Congress following World War I, our students have employment opportunities in a U.S. maritime industry to apply the training and education they receive at Fort Schuyler. Congress enacted the Merchant Marine Act of 1920 to ensure a vibrant United States merchant marine to support the nation's economy and ensure its national defense. This law is commonly known as the Jones Act. The men and women who graduate from SUNY Maritime College and the other maritime academies around the country are directly impacted by the Jones Act. The act is important because it provides stability to the U.S. maritime industry and helps sustain 650,000 American jobs, resulting in $150 billion in economic benefits each year. I think you'll enjoy this brief video that sums up the importance of the Jones Act. It was produced by the American Maritime Partnership, of which Michael Roberts, one of tonight's honorees, serves as president.
American made, American strength, American sovereignty. This year we celebrate 100 years of American maritime under the Jones Act. This law has served as a staple of our national security by ensuring only those vessels that are American-built, American-owned, and American-flagged can operate on our nation's 95,000 miles of waterways. Nearly 650,000 strong in all 50 states and territories, the men and women of American Maritime work to keep us safe and move our economy. American Maritime is no stranger to service in crisis, and in response to today's pandemic, these men and women move critical medical equipment and supplies, following in the same tradition of merchant mariners who delivered for our soldiers during world wars and national crisis. The Jones Act has delivered a century of service and sacrifice, a century of preserving our national sovereignty and security. The work does not stop today. American Maritime will always answer the call to duty and keep America moving stronger each day.
Hello again. I'm in the traineeship wing of the Maritime Industry Museum at Fort Schuyler, walking past models of our previous Empire State traineeships. These vessels represent a rich history of training Maritime College mariners going back to our first traineeship, the St. Mary's. These ships are an essential aspect of the hands-on learning experience our licensed students gain here at Maritime College. Earlier this year, we learned that our college will be the first maritime academy to receive the very first National Security Multi-Mission Vessel, or NSMV. The NSMV is currently under construction at Philly Shipyard. And Tote Services, which has a long history of supporting Maritime Academy training programs, is the vessel construction manager of this state-of-the-art training platform that will replace our grand old lady, Empire State 6, in 2023. It is now my distinct pleasure to recognize the first of tonight's honorees, a key advocate for federal support of the state maritime academies, an important ally for the NSMV, a partner at the law firm of K&L Gates, and a great friend, Mark Ruge.
A graduate of Northern Michigan University and the Georgetown University Law Center, Mark began his career as a staffer on Capitol Hill, working with Representative Robert Davis of Michigan and the House Merchant Marine and Fisheries Committee. This early introduction into the world of the U.S. merchant marine and maritime commerce planted the seeds that have led to Mark's outstanding career as one of the nation's top maritime attorneys and advocates. Following Capitol Hill, Mark secured a position with the global law firm K&L Gates, home to one of the largest policy groups in the United States and one of the largest maritime policy groups. A partner, Mark's career with the firm spans more than 25 years. Because of his outstanding maritime reputation, the State Maritime Academy Consortium hired Mark and his firm to advocate for increased federal funding for the academies. When it became abundantly clear that TS Empire State 6 and the entire State Maritime Academy training fleet needed to be replaced, Mark and his team went into overdrive. One of Mark's proudest career accomplishments was working with the Secretary Elaine Chao and the U.S. Department of Transportation, the U.S. Maritime Administration, congressional leaders, SUNY Maritime College, particularly President Mike Alfultas, other state maritime academies, his colleagues at K&L Gates, and others to help secure the initial $300 million appropriation to build a new, purpose-built national security multi-mission vessel for SUNY Maritime College, the first of a 5-ship program totaling more than $1.5 billion. He noted that the manner in which the State Maritime Academy Consortium, the administration, and Congress worked hand in hand to accomplish their mission was one that most industries would envy. In fitting recognition of his many accomplishments, Mark was named the 2018 Great Lakes Marine Man of the Year and inducted into the Great Lakes Hall of Fame, the first attorney ever chosen. Mark humbly recognizes his good fortune in stumbling into the maritime industry all those years ago and feels the future of the young mariner is a solid one. Mark and his wife Mary have been married for 37 years and are the proud parents of 3 fantastic kids: a son in the technology industry, a son who is a medical doctor, and a daughter who just started high school. Mark enjoys spending time with his family and the Green Bay Packers, of which he is part owner. We would like to thank Mark and all at K&L Gates for their diligence that helped secure the initial appropriation of our future training ship, and thankful for their support in helping us celebrate the next 100 years of the Jones Act.
Congratulations, Mark. Thank you for everything you've done for Maritime College and for our maritime industry. It's truly a pleasure to honor you tonight and present this small token of our great appreciation.
Greetings from the shores of beautiful Lake Michigan. It's a privilege to be part of the team led by Mike Roberts and Jennifer Carpenter and others who wake up every morning looking for ways to protect and support the Jones Act. It's also been a privilege to be part of the team that spent the last several years working to recapitalize the fleet of State Maritime Academy training vessels, the first of which will come to SUNY Maritime College. There's lots of people to thank for that project, which is now a $1.5 billion 5-ship program. Tops of the list is Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao and Maritime Administration Admiral Mark Busby. But I'd like to call out one person in particular today, and that is Maritime College President Mike Alfultas. He took the job here with a daunting priority, which was to recapitalize the Empire State. The chances were very slim when he took over. It was a tough assignment, but he was smart, he was strategic, and he was persistent. And because of that, today we are on the cusp of having that vessel built and brought right to Maritime College. So Thanks for tonight. It's great to be with you. Go SUNY Nation.
As I present our next honoree, I'm standing on the balcony of the Maritime Academic Center looking out on the East River, a vital waterway essential to the Northeast economy that is used by the ships, tugs, and barges transiting between New York City and Long Island Sound. This beautiful spot highlights the unique opportunities available to our students through our close proximity to the maritime industry within the New York City metropolitan area. Now it's my great pleasure to recognize our second honoree, a champion for the tug, tow, and barge industry, a true leader in the maritime industry, a strong proponent of the Jones Act, and a good friend and colleague to many at Maritime College, President and CEO of American Waterway Operators, Jennifer Carpenter.
Growing up in St. Louis, Missouri, with the Mississippi River in her backyard, Jennifer Carpenter had little idea of the importance of the maritime industry in which she'd end up making her career. It was only years later, after graduation from Georgetown University, that our nation's waterways would course through her veins. I had to come to Washington, D.C. to discover the barge industry, she jokes. Interested in international relations, government, and politics, Georgetown was a natural fit for this young Midwestern woman. After a year-long graduate fellowship in Taiwan, Jennifer landed a position as Government Affairs Assistant at the American Waterways Operators in 1990. AWO is the national advocate for the tugboat, towboat, and barge industry, the largest segment of America's domestic fleet. During Jennifer's first week on the job, the Oil Pollution Act of 1990 became law, transforming the regulatory and safety landscape. Helping industry navigate challenge and change has been a hallmark of Jennifer's career, and her master's degree in conflict resolution has come in handy along the way. Working side by side with SUNY maritime alums from across AWO's diverse membership, Jennifer led the development of the AWO Responsible Carrier Program and the Coast Guard AWO Safety Partnership, partnered with policymakers post 9/11 to establish the AWO Alternative Security Program, and played a leading role in developing the Subchapter M towing vessel inspection regulations. She worked her way up the hawse pipe at AWO, becoming president and CEO in January, just as the COVID-19 pandemic was beginning. Educating policymakers on the importance of the Jones Act is at the heart of AWO's mission, and it's been a passion of Jennifer's for 3 decades. Even my kids can tell you why we need the Jones Act, she says. Jennifer lives in Alexandria, Virginia with her husband Keith and 3 children, Chris, who is 16, Patrick, age 14, and Catherine, who is 12. Her Fort Schuyler roots are strong and close to her heart. Jennifer's father-in-law, Walter Carpenter, is a proud member of the class of 1951. In her spare time, Jennifer likes to read, travel, run, and try to keep up with Catherine. Jennifer is passionate about the industry she represents and proud to advocate for the men and women of American maritime. We would like to honor Jennifer's achievements as we celebrate during 2020's first time ever virtual Admiral's Dinner and the next 100 years of the Jones Act.
Congratulations, Jennifer. Thank you for being an advocate for the maritime industry and a protector of the Jones Act and our domestic supply chain. It is my distinct pleasure to honor you tonight and present this small token of appreciation.
Thank you, Admiral Alfutis and the Maritime College community. For 30 years, I've had the honor, the privilege, and the great pleasure of advocating for this industry that does so much for our nation's economy, security, and quality of life. When you love what you do and you respect the people you do it for, it's easy to get up and go to work every day. To the men and women of American Maritime, including SUNY Maritime grads, past, present, and future, you inspire me. And you can count on me to continue to tell your story to everyone who needs to hear it and work alongside you to make sure that for our industry and our country, the brightest days are yet to come. Here's to the next 100 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're having as good a time as I am. Privateer Pete, are you having a good time? Many of you are watching from the comfort of your home, and we are glad you're with us tonight. I'm at the athletic field, where we cheer on our student athletes. We are proud of the way they represent Maritime College on and off the field, and are proud of the conference championships our privateers have brought home to Fort Schuyler. We look forward to intercollegiate sports returning soon, and Kim and I look forward to hosting our athletic teams again in our quarters. Let's take a moment to stand, stretch out, and recharge our glasses. At this time, I'd like to introduce Kelly Guerrero, a senior and recipient of the Admiral's Dinner Scholarship. Kelly epitomizes why we are here this evening and why it is so important for each of us to make a donation and support the Admiral's Dinner Scholarship Fund.
Good evening. My name's Kelly Guerrero. I'm a first-class cadet and the Sea Company Operations Officer. I'm majoring in marine environmental science with a minor in marine biology. On a night like this, as the Admiral's Dinner focuses on scholarships, I should note that I'm also the first member of my extended family to go to college. It never would have been possible without the generous support of people like you, so a big thank you to you all. From the first time I visited Fort Schuyler, I knew that this is what I wanted to do for a career. I've learned so much from the responsibilities I've been given in the regiment. Always being early, keeping things organized and neat, and the importance of strong leadership and team building skills. In 2019, I cadet shipped on the Great Lakes on a dry bulk carrier for 83 days, and it was one of the most incredible experiences I've had at Maritime. That experience confirmed my choice to pursue the license, and I can't wait to ship out for the next few decades. To be honest, getting here hasn't been easy. My mom was a single parent for most of my life. She worked 2 jobs to make sure that my little brother and I could both get great educations. She has worked hard so that we can achieve the American dream. Without both academic and summer sea term scholarships, I don't think I could have attended Maritime College. The generosity of the Admiral's Dinner supporters and other scholarship donors has been transformative to my life, and to many other students as well. As I look forward to a blue water career, I know that I will benefit from strong connections to the extended Fort Schuyler community. I also intend to give back so I can invest in the success of those who follow, so they can also pursue their dreams. I hope you will join me tonight by making a gift to support the Admiral's Dinner Scholarship Fund. It really is a life-changing investment.
I think you will all agree that Kelly is extremely impressive and a strong reminder of why this evening is so very important. Just as a reminder, your gifts tonight will go to support students just like Kelly, and all gifts are tax deductible. Now is the time we've all been waiting for, when everyone can be part of making the 2020 Admiral's Dinner the most successful in its history. I'll now turn the show over to Lucas Hunt, who will lead the auction. I will return at the end of the auction to introduce our next 2 honorees, Lindsay Price and Michael Roberts. And be sure to stay tuned at the conclusion of the program for an informal conversation with our current master of the Empire State 6, Captain Morgan McManus, class of 1992, and former master Captain Jim DeSimone, class of 1973. There's still time this evening to give, so we all can feel proud about the outstanding support we raised tonight for our students. For those of you who are more comfortable making a donation by phone, our staff is ready to take your donations. Simply call the number posted on the screen. If we're on the phone with another generous donor, please leave a message with your number and we'll call you right back. Only with your financial support will students have the opportunities to gain the hands-on experience with the latest technology, such as this simulator, to become future mariners. Now, it's with great admiration that I recognize our 3rd honoree, a young alumna who is leading the way as a senior tug captain, a mentor and role model of countless men and women, a senior master at G&H Towing, and an all-around outstanding woman on the water, Lindsay Price, Maritime College class of 2007.
It was on a trip to New York City as an 8th grader from Conifer, Colorado, when Captain Lindsay Price decided that New York was where she wanted to go to college. 3.5 years later, Lindsay walked through the gates of SUNY Maritime, ready for indoctrination. Knowing she was interested in studying marine environmental science, it was a conversation with Eric Johansson on her first day at Indoc that convinced Lindsay that the license program was the way to go. While at Maritime, she was a member and captain of the swim team and was involved in volleyball, softball, lacrosse, and cheerleading, and also played the saxophone in the regiment band. Because of her love of the water and passion for the industry, upon graduation, Lindsay chose to work for G&H Towing because of the opportunities it provided. G&H had an attractive work schedule, a friendly work culture, and allowed her to work on the water. 2 days after graduation from Maritime College in May of 2007, Lindsay drove from Fort Schuyler to Houston, Texas, where she assumed her position as the first female officer hired by G&H. She quickly got up to speed with her responsibilities, and over the next 4 years, Lindsay honed her navigation and boat handling skills. In 2011, Lindsay was proudly promoted to captain. The first female captain at G&H, Lindsay did it in a relatively short period of time. She is now one of the senior captains at the company. Lindsay is constantly learning and seeking opportunities to one day become a harbor pilot. She knows the process is extremely difficult and that there are no guarantees, but that has never stopped her from achieving her goals. While not at the helm, Lindsay stays active in the industry with many organizations, including WISTA, Women in Maritime Operations, the Propeller Club, Women Offshore, Women on the Water, and Sea Sisters. She is an ambassador for Maritime College and also speaks at conferences around the world promoting the industry. In her spare time, Lindsay likes to travel. She is an experienced mountain climber and has climbed some of the tallest mountains in the world, including Mount Kilimanjaro and Mount Aconcagua in Argentina. She continues her love for swimming and still competes at the master level. She can also be found racing mountain bikes in local races and training CrossFit. Congratulations, Captain Lindsay Price. We thank you and all at G&H Towing for your service in support of the Jones Act and of SUNY Maritime College.
Congratulations, Lindsay. It has been a personal pleasure getting to know you. Thank you for your service, your leadership, and your valuable contributions to the maritime industry. I am truly pleased to honor you tonight and present you this small token of our great appreciation.
Thank you for this wonderful recognition. I am proud to represent fellow alumni, especially the men and women like myself who currently work on the water. We are all beneficiaries of the Jones Act, also being honored this evening. This honor is truly special for me because it recognizes my hard work and dedication to the United States maritime industry. My pathway into this industry started at SUNY Maritime back in 2003, and still to this day, I am proud to have chosen Fort Schuyler. I would like to thank the people who have helped me along the way. My parents, the faculty who kept me motivated, specifically Eric Johansson and Captain Richard Smith, as well as my classmates and teammates who I continue to stay in contact with. I would also like to thank Admiral Alfoltis and the Foundation Board for giving me this honor. I have continued to stay engaged at Fort Schuyler through recruiting for G&H Towing Company, mentoring, and being a member of the many alumni groups on board. Admiral Alfoltis has done an outstanding job maintaining the college and programs. Through my engagement with the graduating students of today, I know that they are capable and will be the leaders of our future. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Now, as I stand at the crossroad of this beautiful campus before the Maritime Wall, with the Science and Engineering building to my left, I can feel the coming together of all that is maritime. The outstanding engineering programs, the maritime transportation, business, and logistics focused majors, as well as science and humanities. Regardless of the course of study, we all know students at Fort Schuyler are provided with an outstanding education. Our next and final honoree, although not a Maritime College alumnus, knows full well the value of a maritime education. He was instrumental in helping Maritime College get our new training ship. He's an outstanding advocate of the Jones Act, a good friend of the college and colleague of many alumni, president of American Maritime Partnership and senior vice president of Crowley Maritime, Michael Roberts.
Mike grew up in Western Michigan and earned his bachelor's degree from Michigan State University, graduating with high honors. Upon graduation, he moved to Washington, D.C., where he began work in the transportation sector while pursuing a law degree at night. He received his Juris Doctor degree from American University, Washington College of Law, graduating cum laude. His career in Washington spans more than 40 years and includes service in government as well as private practice. As general counsel, Mike represented Crowley Maritime on the major issues affecting the industry, including the Maritime Security Program, Jones Act, and economic regulation. Mike is a founding board member of the American Maritime Partnership, AMP, which was established in 1995 to represent the domestic maritime industry. AMP is the largest maritime legislative coalition ever assembled, which emphasizes that a strong domestic maritime industry is critical for America's economic, national, and homeland security, and is best supported by maintaining the Jones Act as the foundation of America's domestic maritime policy. In January 2020, Mike was appointed president of AMP, where he welcomes the challenges and celebrates the successes of the industry. Having recently testified before the subcommittee on Coast Guard and Maritime Transportation in the U.S. House of Representatives, Mike said he feels proud to play a part in keeping the American maritime industry operating safely and successfully. Some highlights for Mike include leading a debate in defense of the Jones Act atop the New York World Trade Center before terrorists knocked it down on 9/11/2001. Throughout his career, Mike has become well acquainted with many SUNY Maritime College graduates and officers, several of them now friends. He admires their perseverance, especially now during COVID-19. In his free time, Mike loves to play golf in Jacksonville with son Kurt and son-in-law Mike. They, plus daughter Katie, enjoyed a lockdown visit that began in March and lasted until June. During this time, Mike and wife Barbara enjoyed cooking competitions with the kids every Saturday. Mike's secret? Everything tastes better with a little crema. We are happy to honor Mike's 40 years of industry service as we celebrate 2020's virtual Admiral's Dinner and AMP's continued support of the Jones Act.
Congratulations, Michael. What a great honor it has been to work with you over many months on Capitol Hill. We all appreciate everything you do on behalf of the Jones Act. I'm deeply proud to honor you tonight and present you this small token of our great appreciation.
Admiral Alfultus and friends of SUNY Maritime, greetings from Jacksonville in the great maritime state of Florida, where the American domestic maritime industry provides 60,000 jobs thanks to the Jones Act. Thank you very much for this honor. I also want to congratulate Captain Lindsay Price, Jennifer Carpenter, and Mark Ruge. Jennifer, Mark, and I have worked together for a quarter century to help tell the American maritime story in Washington. I also want to recognize the 150 Fort Schuyler graduates who are part of the Crowley team and all American mariners. You are part of a special group, essential workers committed to answering the call when America needs you. We are all very fortunate to be part of a dynamic and competitive American industry that is renewing itself constantly through investment and innovation And that's why I'm speaking to you from the bridge of Crowley's El Coquí, part of a new fleet of vessels built in America, crewed by Puerto Rican and other American mariners, and customized to serve Puerto Rico. With fleet renewal, growth opportunities in offshore wind and other markets, and recognizing maritime's key role competing with China, it is an exciting and sobering time for American maritime. We have a bright future as we continue earning our way. So thank you, Admiral Alfultus, for this recognition. We look forward to continue doing our part.
On behalf of the entire Maritime College community, and especially our students, Kim and I want to thank everyone who participated in this evening's virtual event. We look forward to gathering with you in person next year.
To all of you who have joined us tonight, we appreciate your friendship and dedication to our students, and we thank you for your donations and generosity.
Congratulations to all of our honorees. We are so fortunate to have such distinguished and dedicated men and women working to support the Jones Act, U.S. maritime industry, and SUNY Maritime College.
Thank you for all that you do. And thank you too to our fantastic sponsors and all our donors. You are the best.
This concludes the official Admiral's Dinner program, but we invite you to join Captain Jim D. Simone, class of 1973, and Morgan McManus, class of 1992, for a special Maritime Captain's Afterglow. Spanning more than 5 decades at Fort Schuyler, their conversation provides a unique insider's view of their experience as cadets, alumni, and captains of the Empire State. So grab a beverage, relax on your couch, and enjoy the conversation.
The donation link will remain live throughout the Afterglow, so please continue to make your generous donations to support our students.
We wish you our very best for good health, happiness, and future success.
You are an important part of the Maritime College at Fort Schuyler family. Until we meet again, may your life be blessed with fair winds and following seas. Cheers and good night.
Good evening. First and foremost, thank you very much for attending the virtual Admiral's Dinner, and also for now attending the virtual Captain's Afterglow. I think we could all agree these are strange times we are living. Some may say even weird. I can say from my perspective, these are very odd times here at the school. But we thank you all for your support and for continuing to support Maritime College as a whole. Captain D. Simone, I'd like to welcome you to the Afterglow in this unusual time.
It is certainly an unusual time, but of course I still have my gin. Back when you were a cadet, and I'm sure you did it, a number of the cadets back then used to try and ply me with gin. And this one is water up to almost the top with a little gin. Back in those days, people were shoving gin on the rocks in my face left and right, thinking I was going to get trashed, but I didn't. So in any case, thank you for having me. This is, given the times, it's a great way to get together. And I do think I've been reading things, I've spoken to you and the Admiral, and I think you, just to show you how weird things are, obviously the ship couldn't get underway. And, it's interesting, at the Marine Society dinner, which was, I think, March 9th, I think it was actually the last maritime industry event in the city. And the Admiral was talking then, and you were, that, we don't know what we're going to do. And of course, it came to pass, you had to find some other alternative. So how did that go?
Yeah, it was very odd. We were hoping to do cruise right up to the last minute. In fact, I was almost a Don Quixote tilting at windmills, and I was saying, nope, we're going to make it happen. We'll make it happen. And then mid-April, it's like, we can't pull this off. It's not going to work. We didn't have it just wasn't going to happen. So what we wound up doing was the Coast Guard gave us all the state maritime academies an ability to do a 30-day at the dock training evolution, and we called it pier sailing. Then we also changed it then to pier watch and maintenance. And really what we did is we brought the students that were willing to come back onto campus. We tested them for COVID, had them live in the dorms, and we had them come down to the ship to work, basically M&R, and then we mixed in some training with that, and also to stand some modified watches. The funny thing is that all I can remember is my second class cruise on the maiden voyage of this ship going to dry dock in Italy. After you got done with all of us having liberty for the World Cup back then, we started doing watch and work on the ship. And I was like, it's just like we did when I was a cadet, you know. The only thing I didn't do is I didn't have bow lookouts on the bow staring at the bridge. I figured that might have been just too much over the top. And so, but it went well. The students that came, attended, they got a lot out of it. They got the training out of it. A lot of them were happy to be back on campus and see their friends. And, you know, we adjusted like everything else we do here. And I think everything in the maritime industry, you have adversity, you have challenges, and you adjust. So we adjusted with wearing a mask. In fact, I, you know, got my mask right here for in case someone comes into the office. And we worked on minimizing class sizes to, you know, have density issues, and we staggered meals. So, you know, we made the best of it, and the students were able to get their 30 days of sea time, which helps them keep going for license, as well as then takes a little pressure off of next summer of trying to do cruise next summer and not need to get 100 days in for the seniors. We can tighten that down a bit. So, you know, and for next summer, we're hoping to get 2 cruises in, you know, probably 60 to 65 days apiece in between the end of classes and finals and the beginning of the school year. So that's the plan. But the pier sailing was definitely a unique challenge. It was, but you go back to what you do here when you're at school. And I actually had something in the memory bank to go back on and say, well, we can pull this off. We did this in Italy. This is easy.
I was not very well liked when I finally decided, nope, time, classes must resume. And, you know, watched, I don't believe we stood a bow lookout. I think that's a little bit.
No, I think it's funny, but that's when you hear conversations about it, that's the first thing you hear is like, we were standing lookout of the dry dock. And I'm like, I don't remember that as much, but we're not going to do that for the piers. So it worked out well.
And so how does that, just out of curiosity for me, maybe the other people joining, how does that sort of, you said it takes some of the pressure off primarily the first class? So yeah,
the school for the last 10 years or so has been doing the 50-50, 100 split. So your first cruise or your second cruise are 50 days split A and B, and then the seniors, the first class, to do a 100-day cruise. So, you know, by doing this, most of the first class that did this, it'll knock down their sea day requirement of needing a full 100. We'll be able to get it down to under 70 days, and that'll help get their sea time. You know, the Coast Guard gave for the deck side, they gave an additional 30 days for BRM class as well. So instead of just 30, they got 60. So that helps also move the needle a little bit to the left, which will help out next summer. So we're definitely looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting underway next summer. I mean, we had a great cruise plan for this past summer. So.
Where were you going to go?
So we were planning on hitting Palma, Mallorca, because that was one of my favorite ports when I was a cadet, as you can remember. And then we also had the Canary Islands, Cove Island in it, change out back here in New York, the Azores for the first class and stuff like that. So it was going to be a pretty nice cruise. So I was going to avoid going to the North Atlantic again like we did last year and avoid the 4 or 5 days of fog going to Iceland. So.
Well, you know, I don't have any anecdote or a hard data, but I have plenty of anecdotal evidence that the trips that were primarily to the Mediterranean in the nice weather, generally the cadets, everyone on board, their attitude, the whole atmosphere was much, much better. By the time you got back to New York, people were in much better mood rather than dealing with the fog and all that. I can honestly say I did have a bit of a bias towards the Mediterranean. So, but
definitely.
It was good for celestial navigation. It was good for maintenance and that sort of thing. But all kidding aside, people just seem to be in much better spirits. You know.
No, I could definitely believe it. So yeah, we did have those challenges this past summer before, but all in all, you know, back to the pier sailing, it did go fairly well. You know, the cadets had a good time. We got tremendous support from the Alumni Association to help with the tuition of it, and thank you very much for all the alumni that contributed to that. And I wish I could say that's all that's needed. The students really do need a lot of help, and that's why this dinner and afterglow are so important for donating to the school. A lot of families and students now had issues during COVID, whether it's layoffs or one parent losing a job. When we talk to the students that are back, they are worried. How am I going to keep paying tuition? They're afraid what happens if things go back and we close down again. Will it delay my graduation? So, the students are under a lot of pressure right now to get through that. So I think with the peer selling, though, a lot of them forgot about that because they got out of being stuck at home and they, working again. And most of them enjoyed that. I enjoyed it because the ship hasn't looked so good in forever. But it was good. They had a good time. So
no, I can imagine that. My last 2 months at the city, I was theoretically supposed to telework, as everyone was, but I ended up going into the office typically at least 3 days a week because there was no one there.
Yeah.
And of course, I could ride the ferries and whatnot, say hi to people. But yeah, there's a huge social dimension to all of this that is pretty serious. And of course, I hate to mention this, but I'm sure, talking to the alumni about supporting the college, I assume budget cuts are on the way as well. And that's just going to make things a lot more difficult all around, I would suspect.
Definitely, yeah. We expect that. I think every SUNY campus is going to feel budget cuts, and we're no different from that. But we talk about alumni, and you talk about Maritime College, and one of the things I know you and I have discussed it. Your memories of being on the training ship and the cruise is really it's the glue that binds all of us together as alumni. In fact, I was talking with several people about the Empire State Five. Some of these faculty that are here that remember the Five, and I did my mud cruise on the Five, and we were talking about the mess deck and the portholes on it. And I'm sure you remember this. And as a mug, you were never told not to sit by the portholes because every now and then on the swell, the water would come shooting through. And it's kind of literally a baptism as you're eating your food. You just get soaked. So, it was fun sharing those anecdotal stories. And, the cadets are amazed that, you allowed us to sleep outside because there's no air conditioning. So we'd always be, getting our spaces under the lifeboats at night to rack out and then waking up to wash down in the morning, so it's the old adage, the older alumni always had it worse than the students here today. I remember not having air conditioning on my training ship, and, so.
Well, you talk of portholes. See, I was smart enough, maybe by the time I got to sail captain, that my portholes were closed because, scrub down in the morning there, always the potential for an errant fire hose. Wasn't enough to give it the opportunity, so I had to, at night, it was pretty hot up there, no portholes open.
Right.
Yeah, but it was also very nice with that ship, which sort of goes on to another whole part of the cruise. I always enjoyed the way the first class, I used to say to people, you become more, they're more like junior officers on the way home. The whole dynamic changes. And it was really nice because obviously you, Ross, there's plenty of people who are close friends of mine to this day who were cadets,
Yep.
And when the old ship, the first class and the officers all ate in the same mess deck. And, there's something nice about that, which is not the same here. So.
Well, and I'll say when the six came here, we were all jealous that we didn't have first class. We didn't have to look forward to the first class rooms in the Horseshoe.
Yes.
I remember that. I was like, wow, can't wait till the first class and get one of those rooms in the Horseshoe with the big portal and window. But, then the six came, we were just happy to have air conditioning.
It's a whole trade-off.
It's a trade-off, and it was a good trade-off. But yeah, it's going well. And the Empire State Six is still, she's still running along, and we just got to get through a couple more years on her. And, Marriott's putting the time and money in to keep it running and the commitment to it, which is appreciated. So that's going well. I realized this during this in-doc, which again, speaking of things that were different, we didn't do the traditional 10 days before school. It became a long weekend over Labor Day weekend to do 4 days then. And then we're going to do another 3 days and 3 days over different weekends in September and October to get them caught up. But I was sitting there talking to this group, and I said, theoretically, your first class cruise will be on the new ship. So you'll be one of those classes like my class that did a cruise on one ship and a cruise on another ship. And that's kind of cool. So, a couple of them that were sitting there, wondering why they chose to come here were like, well, that's kind of nice, and they still wonder why they're here right now, as we all did as mugs. So we all have those memories of in-doc. And again, everyone's in-doc was harder further you go back in time. So,
yeah,
but no, it was good.
Yeah, that's actually, what is the schedule on the new ship? Has the contract actually been let?
So yeah, so Philly Shipyard is contracted. Toad is operating as the vessel construction manager, and things are still moving along through the design phase. And they're hoping delivery is first quarter 2023 of the first ship, and then the other ones follow after that. We're hoping it's more to the left of that. So for any alum that are working on the project, come on, help me out, get it a little further to the left. But no, so it's going well. They're committed to building a really good training platform, and I think it's going to help the school move into the 21st century for decades to come. Very exciting. When you talk to some of the students, they're very excited, especially this freshman class, knowing that they're going to get on it hopefully in 2023. So it's good. It's moving along. Doing good.
That's good. Yeah, that's the Admiral there can certainly chalk that one up as that's a major accomplishment. The college is almost 150 years old, and never before, the closest they've ever come to having something you might call purpose-built is the ship you're sitting on right now.
Right.
And that, as you know, was a conversion. It wasn't really purpose-built, but this takes the thing to a different level. And my hat is off to him. He certainly deserves a lot of credit for that. That's a biggie. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very exciting over the next couple of years, and we're hoping the cadets, being that it's in Philly, we're hoping the cadets get access to the yard to get involved and see it and really see it come to life. So it's very exciting times for that. It's going well.
What about the college in general? With classes have resumed now, what's that kind of like?
So we're 2 weeks into it. It's going pretty good. The students, again, kind of like the pier sailing, they're all excited to be here. I think everyone got sick of being home with mom and dad, so they're happy to be back on campus. And I'm sure some of the parents were happy to drop them off too. I know I helped during INDOC when we were receiving all the new freshmen, and there were some parents that just kind of, like my parents did, just kind of slowed the car down a bit and get them out and send them on their way. But classes are going good. Again, it comes down to the students they're wearing their masks on campus. They're outside of their dorm rooms. They're wearing it when they're out. They're wearing it in class. We tried to set the classrooms up, facilities and the academic council. They tried to get the classroom set up to be spread out to help out with distancing. And it's so far so good. We've been doing our weekly COVID testing, and that's been going very well. It's expected that we're going to have a couple of cases pop up just statistically, and we have a good plan in place to deal with it. I think the pier sailing was the best part, because that was kind of if we could do the pier sailing, we could just expand that program for the academic side. So majority of students are back on campus. All the regiment students are back. Some civilians are working remotely for some of their classes they can, but it's going well. We have the watch standings going on, but the biggest thing is everyone's wearing their mask. The mess deck is a little different. They put up the plastic dividers on the table, so you can have 4 to a table with your plastic dividers. And it's funny because you can tell generations of who see it, because every now and then a Get Smart reference comes up to the cone of silence coming down as you have the plastic sandwich in there. I remember when that show was actually on, so that makes it fun. But the classes are going good. It's we watch what's happening with some of the other schools, and we definitely get nervous about it, and we're hoping things keep moving forward. I think the best part about the school, again, goes back to the caliber of student that comes here. They want a little adversity and challenge, which is why they're here. And the majority of them I talk to, they chalk up wearing the mask as, okay, this is just what I have to do right now. So during pier sailing, they're like, Cap, it's just part of my uniform. That's what it is. I got to do this. This is what I got to do to get through here. The first class are very much like, this is what we got to do to get through here. And we all remember that. You get to that last year, you just want to get through. So they were getting good compliance, and they're really all pulling together to get it done, which is nice.
2 questions on that. Now, you say part of the uniform. Is there a specific mask that is,
So there is. There was one that was issued, and that's the one that they wear every morning at formation, just so we make sure they have that one. And then they're allowed to wear a different mask, more comfortable one, whether it's a surgical mask or another cloth covering. They're not allowed to wear the bandanas, based on what the research said. So, they get done with the formation with their issued white mask, and then you'll see them modify it to what they want to wear if it's more comfortable.
So the white mask is like the tighty white.
Yes, exactly.
Actually, my wife and I, those are our favorite. Those are our preferred for.
So yeah, we have many mask conversations. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then what was I going to say? You said the uniform, the masks, and then I was going to ask, just like in terms of license exam and whatnot, where does that role play?
So now we're waiting on license exam. I think the first license exam will be next year. So there won't even be one this winter. So, you know, we have students that are doing seminar now, and they'll have to do a little bit of a refresher next year. But as far as license exams, the Coast Guard coming on campus, that's not going to happen until at least, I think the earliest, and I'm probably messing this up, would be after cruise next summer. So, you know, the August timeframe. I'm sure someone right now is typing frantically to tell me that's wrong, but it'll be sometime next year.
So what, thinking ahead, and I'm sure you already are thinking about the cruise, but like testing, who's doing that? Is that contracted out? How does it work?
So right now we've been having a partnership with SUNY Downstate with testing. So services have been doing the test sampling, and SUNY Downstate, who helped us out greatly during pier sailing, is still helping us with testing. And then now within the next week or so, we'll be going with the mass testing system that SUNY has put out for all the campuses to do. And that'll be I believe the centralized testing of saliva tests going up to be processed and tested. So, and then for cruise next year, we're hoping we don't have to do any testing. We're hoping that, you know, this is behind us, but if so, we'll have to develop a plan and again, adapt and overcome and figure out how to make it work. But we have to get underway next summer to get seat time for the students and keep everyone on track. So we'll figure something out by then. We're in a different scenario.
Are there any costs related to the testing?
So right now, the cost, we've been fortunate where there is some cost that's been mitigated with SUNY Downstate. And as far as the other testing, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, right now, the school is incurring costs. I'm just not sure what the number is, but it is expensive for the testing. The students will eventually, hopefully not incur the cost, but, you know, the way things are with state budgets, I'm sure there is going to be some cost that's passed on to students eventually. You know, whether it's for the testing or for the cleaning, it's hard to figure out how this school system is going to pay for it all.
Right. When you say cleaning, what do you mean? Is there
so they're doing sanitizing through the dorms, you know, sanitizing of the ship and cleaning in general. You know, the extra cleaning going on in the mess deck in between. But when you walk around campus, there's always someone continuously cleaning and sanitizing public, you know, doorknobs and handrails. And the mess deck is constantly going through a rotation of cleaning. So, you know, all costs money. You know, every school is incurring costs for doing that in order to keep open and keep running. So we're definitely incurring that cost.
Oh, that's tough. You know, that's another one of these things that, you know, I've told a number of people my age on this, you know, joining us for this afterglow. A lot of people lose sight of the fact that when I was a cadet, the state covered about 90% of the cost to attend there. So the student was only paying about 10%. When you were a cadet, it went up. By the time you were a cadet, I think the state was covering about 85%. And unless I'm mistaken, I think today the state covers about 30%, which means that whole 70% has been shifted over to the student, which obviously, you know.
Yeah, I think it's actually even less than 30% now that's covered. You know, it really is on the backs of the students with tuition and covering costs. And a lot of the cruise costs is, you know, that's something that's even above and beyond what regular students are paying for, is paying for cruise. You know, and depending what cruise is, cruise can be anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000, you know, depending between fuel cost and just the general cost of running the ship, the labor cost of faculty and staff. You know, it's an expensive operation. And, you know, I don't remember it being as expensive when I was going with, you know, cost of inflation. I'm sure it was back then,
but there again, certain costs used to be simply absorbed by the college. You know, because it was that heavily supported by the state. And as things began to shift more and more, it obviously became a lot easier to just shift it to the student. And which is another thing. I think a lot of the alumni don't really, you know, I just think that's something that's a point that should be made because a lot of people don't realize that. And you know, so, well, I went through there. Well, the whole, you know, financial aspect of it's quite different today than it was, you know?
Oh, it definitely is. It's definitely, you know, and we all say it's still, you know, state university, so it's definitely cheaper than private college, but it's still very expensive. And when you poll the students of what one of their, you know, their main concerns are, a majority of them will say cost and how they're paying for it. And, you know, a lot of them take out exorbitant student loans and they're graduating with that debt right when they walk out the door. Fortunately, they're coming out of a place where they can get a job, but now even in a post-COVID environment, you know, the job market's not like it was too. So, you know, these students now are getting hit with the double whammy of tuition and, where there's a job market. And again, we come back to the whole point of the alumni at this school is to help the students, whether it's, with job placement and networking, or with donating to the school. So again, for all that those that have donated, we appreciate it. And thank you very much. And for those that are still thinking about it, I believe there's supposed to be a number and a link that'll be below me that you can click on or call. I think the number for the Admiral's dinner will be going until about 2000. They'll be manned, but you can go on the website and still make a donation after this to help support the students. So, if you can, it's definitely needed, and the money will not get wasted, and it'll go to good. We want to see these young men and women graduate from here and go on and, replace, be the new blood in the industry, so to speak, and the new thinkers of the industry. So,
but it's interesting to think back. I had the pleasure of giving the commencement address a couple of years ago, and anytime I think of something like that, you're forced to think back in time. And just think of it, Maritime College has gone through, wars, it's gone through the plague, it's gone through depressions, recessions, and, I wonder if the library has anything on the 1918 pandemic.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they do, but you reminded me of something, though, is that the library is doing a big alumni record. They're working on digitizing all the different class years. So, if you as alumni out there have any pictures from your class years, get it over to the library, and they're digitizing all those records. But I'm sure they do have stuff on the 1918 pandemic. It'd be interesting to see logbooks from back then of what the school was doing and what their mask policy was back then. I know in Philly they had one. In Philadelphia, you read the archives, they had a mask policy there. I'm sure they had one here.
No, see, somewhere around here, we have that book, I think it's called The Great Pandemic, or I forget the name. Read the book and I don't remember the name of it. But in there, pictures of people wearing those same masks, attending outdoor events. There was a picture, I think, of the police in some West Coast city, all wearing their masks and whatnot, at stadiums and whatnot. So, but it was just sitting here thinking, this college has gone through a lot of these things.
Yeah. And it will keep going. In the future, there'll be other events, and the college will hopefully still be here to do it. And I think the caliber of students and graduates will be the same. We'll just get through it. A lot of the students here keep that can-do attitude of, yep, okay, this is what we got to do. And I know I go back and saying it, but it's always amazed me when I first came back here to work, is you'd see it and you're like, all right, yeah, now I remember this. But you watch the students kind of get it, and they get the bad news about something, they process it, and they're like, all right, well, this is just what we got to do. Let's just do it. All right, this is going to make him happy. Just go do this. And, you start laughing about it. I chuckle about it, but, it builds the character, and it builds the alum that come out of here, and I always tell some people that I've met working here, I'm like, hey, you don't understand the alum from this place. We're different. Our network is really tight because we have such camaraderie for this and love for this institution, and love for the ship and the training cruises. And, no matter who I've talked to when we did all the port visits last summer, and you talk to alum from different years, they'd always immediately go into a cruise story about being in this port, whether it was Bremen or, Copenhagen or Palma Mallorca or, Italy. And the stories are all the same, which is great. And I think that common bond is really what keeps us all together over the years.
We've discussed this before. You either, there's only two types of people there. Those that just sincerely hated the cruise, and we know who those are. And there were those who just liked it, There was no in between. But, when you think back, or you think even in today's world where we have a tendency to look at people, seem to be raised a little bit more affluently, they're traveling. I mean, certainly when I was a cadet, my mud cruise was 1970, and we went to Copenhagen, we went to Rouen, France, and it's, when you think of that, the average, college student here in the United States to this day is nowhere near as well traveled as the students at Maritime College.
No,
and
very true.
The whole bond with the ship. And I was thinking the other day that, the learning experiences, he's a good friend of mine today. He was an underclassman when I was a first classman, and he didn't like the way I was telling him to clean a toilet. And it was made very clear to me very quickly, this wasn't going to be the way you'd get him to clean the toilet. So you have to, learn that. And that's something that, it's a very unique experience there in terms of education.
No, it is. It definitely is. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all alumni attending, and wish everyone health and prosperity. And if you have that prosperity, please send some of it to schools away.
Well, thank you for having me, and likewise, thank everyone else for joining us. Hopefully next year we can do this all in person. And then if I get up there, I'm certainly going to make a couple of days of it. So it's not going to be that I have to worry about driving home.
Exactly. Yeah. See, that's it. You don't have to worry about that. Yes. No. Hopefully we can do the next afterglow in person. But for all those that attended, I just want to thank you, and everyone have a great night. And please support the college if you can. It's always appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night, all.